Okay, so anytime I've posted a behind the scenes picture or video for one of my photo sets, it is 100% guaranteed that I'll get at least one question asking, what in the heck are those? So what are they? What do they do? And how have they changed the way I work? Well, let's talk about it. Oh, that was a thigh burn. So how many of y'all are familiar with a rig like this? I've got my C-stand. I've got 2 sandbags down here holding it in place so it doesn't topple over. We've got our extension arm extended, leading to our strobe and beauty dish modifier. This rig can get the job done, but only to a certain extent, and it's super cumbersome and really hard to move off and back on to set. And look at this extension, maybe 3 feet at most. Okay, so let's set a scenario I could possibly have. Let's say I'm having to photograph an NBA team in a very limited amount of time, and I want the beauty dish positioned in the same area in relation to the athlete in order to keep my images consistent. That consistency is very important when you're delivering a group of images like these, especially when those images might end up being the athlete's headshots used during a national TV broadcast. You're wanting those to be consistent, believe me. Okay, so we want the light to be maybe a foot above and a couple feet out from them. So with an NBA team, we will have to possibly account for a couple of 7-footers and a couple of 6-foot-ish guards. So with that in mind, you're gonna be doing a whole heck of a lot of this for each of the players. Now, let's add some action to the mix. Ball, thank you. Excuse the partially inflated soccer ball, but it's all I've got here today. All right, so most players will lean forward when they dribble. So you're gonna have to move the stand even more to compensate. But you can't move this stand fast enough for real action. Not to mention, this stand is not gonna give your athlete much room to move. So after working like this for years, I just came to the conclusion that there had to be something better out there. Well, fortunately, there is. Okay, so this is the Boom. Mine is under the Limelight brand. Don't believe you can find this anymore, but it is the same Boom is still sold. It's just under the Cambo brand, and I think it's Red Wing, something along those lines. We'll look it up in a minute. And it's got a different color scheme. But anyway, what makes this thing so cool is it's got a pivot point here in the middle which can be tightened or loosened by using this rotating knob right here. And then uses what they call a parallelogram, which I can't believe I said correctly the first time. Parallelogram design. So when you raise and lower the Boom, the angle of the light doesn't change in reference to your subject. Speaking of the light, this is what they call a light head extension or a head extension. It's got a handle here, can be rotated 360 degrees. So you can place that however you want it in relation to whoever you're photographing. It has a knob right here as well, so you can loosen and tighten it. So if you get it set in a place where you like it, you can lock it down. These come in different sizes. This is a relatively short one. I use this kind of at the front of my set, usually with a beauty dish, just like it is here. This one is a longer version over here, and I use this one as more of an overhead type light. So you've got the light on one end. On the other end, we have the counterweight section. I roll out here into the light. So here, you've got some knobs here that have some sliding, kind of like, here you go. They slide up and down, these little tray things. So you can compensate for the weight of whatever modifier, whatever you have on the other end, so it balances out perfectly like this. I use just a regular old sandbag, and I can change its position up and down here depending on how heavy or light that is. They do come with these fancy bags where you can put steel shot in. I could never source the steel shot, and I got these empty with these booms. So if anyone knows a source for those shot, let me know in the comments below, please, because I'd be interested. All right, one more feature on this end of the boom. There are 2 screws right here which you can pull, and then this section of the boom comes off, which shortens everything and makes it that much easier to transport. So I'm gonna hop back here and show you just how easy it is to work this boom. With a battery-powered strobe like the ProPhoto B1 I've got over here, you can see that all I have to do is pull up and down on this end of the boom, and the light goes up and down on the other end, obviously. You can also swing in, swing out. So when you've got an athlete moving around a good bit, you can keep up with them pretty easily with that boom there. So it makes my life that much easier than using that old C-stand rig that I showed you earlier. Okay, so now let's hop on the computer. I'll show you all this boom in action from a photo shoot I had with Atlanta Falcons a couple years ago. Then we'll pull an image from that shoot, and I can show you how this boom helps me create the images I create. And then we'll go look and see where we can find one online in case you want to purchase one for yourself. All right, so I've got some footage here from a photo shoot I had with Atlanta Falcons from a couple years ago. And looks like we got big bad Deion Jones, a linebacker, on set. All right, so you can see both booms, one right here with the overhead light. This has got the longer extension on it to give me more reach over the athlete. This is my second boom. It's got the shorter extension and got a beauty dish here mounted on it. And this is my assistant, Bill. So you will see him working this light up and down, and you can notice just how easy it is for him to change position depending on what Mr. Jones is doing here on set. So there he is in his ready position. We got that light down with him. And then like whenever he comes up, Bill can follow him up, and we'll set it up here for just some kind of just posed action. And then we'll have him running. So we kind of have it in this general area where it is now. So you might actually recognize this clip from my intro sequence. This is just a time lapse, so it's a little bit jerky, but you can kind of get the idea of what we have going on and how easy it is to move this light to keep it in the same general area in relation with the angle to his face there, so we can get that nice accent light, which I will show you now here in Photoshop. So this is one of the portraits from that session, and you can see this light here. This is what that beauty dish is giving me. And with that boom arm, I can stick it kind of right out there next to him. We don't have to do any major set change, can just kind of flow right in from one setup to the next. This was a setup with some red gels that we did. I normally have, I guess, around 8 to 10 minutes per player. I think this year, the season when we did these photos, we had to do around 4 different lighting setups. So when you have a piece of gear that it doesn't take, that you can actually set in place and keep using without having to pull in and pull out, I mean, it just makes all the difference in the world. So you can see just how nice that light is and how we get this nice fall off on this side of the face here and a nice little catch light. So he's a mean man. All right, let's go look online. Let's see here. This is on B&H. This is where you can find one of these booms, 665. It looks like they come with these filled these days with the lead shot counterweights, which would be really nice because there are rivets in these bags. And so when you set them on those trays that slide up and down, and it just kind of looks like a smoother process than just hanging a sandbag like I do. And those are kind of some of the features that I showed earlier. Let's see here, and this is the actual Cambo site. So if you want to do more research on these booms, you can find more info here. They do have like a compact boom. I haven't used that before, and probably a little too small for my use. The head extension sizes, you can see the different extension sizes. I use the 18-inch for the shorter boom, and then the longer overhead, I use the 30-inch. They do have a 48, but I might be a little nervous sticking that over an athlete and worrying about having my sandbag down enough where that isn't going to come over. That might just be a little too crazy. Let's see here. And for the roller stands, this is what I'm using now, these Mathews medium overhead roller stands. They're heavy, but when you're hanging something like that over an athlete, you'll sacrifice a little weight for stability. And plus these, when you're rolling on turf and stuff like that, these wheels are nice and stable when you if you need to move it around. So it looks like it's what, a little over $1,000 for the about $1,150 maybe for the full setup, which I think in this case is well worth it. Well, that pretty much does it for this video. I hope y'all might have found something of interest or possibly learned a little something from seeing this piece of equipment I use in my photo shoots. I know I got a couple of requests for lighting demonstrations, and you got to see a little bit today with how I use these booms to keep the light as consistent as possible. I'll definitely see about expanding on some of my lighting practices in the future, so hit that subscribe button if you want to catch those details. Also, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this work in progress, otherwise known as a YouTube video. I promise to do my best to make these more watchable in the future. In the meantime, you can also find me on Instagram and Twitter at QuantzPhoto. Please hit me in the comments with your suggestions and thoughts about this video and what you would like to see in the future. If you're still here, thanks for hanging out this long, and I'll be here in the next one.